Have you ever bitten into a sugary, fluffy donut and wondered how it came to be? Well, let's take a sweet trip down memory lane. The history of the donut might surprise you. Some food historians believe that our beloved donuts have their roots in Dutch oliekoeks or oil cakes. These were balls of sweet dough fried in pork fat until golden brown, a simple treat that crossed the ocean with Dutch settlers to America. But the donut as we know it today, with its iconic hole in the middle, didn't really take shape until the 19th century. And during World War I, donuts truly had their moment in the spotlight. Salvation Army volunteers served these comforting treats to soldiers on the front lines, forever tying donuts to a sense of home and warmth. Now that we know where donuts come from, it's time to learn how they're made. Creating donuts begins with gathering the right ingredients. First, we need flour, the foundation of our dough. It provides the structure, giving our donuts their delightful, fluffy texture. Next up is sugar, bringing a touch of sweetness to the table. Then, we've got yeast, the magical ingredient that helps our dough rise to the occasion. Let's not forget the eggs, they're the glue that binds everything together. And then, of course, we have milk and butter, adding a rich creaminess that makes our donuts oh so decadent. Finally, we need oil for frying, transforming our dough into golden, crispy perfection. But wait, there's more. For those who want to venture beyond the basic donut, we can add a dash of whimsy with optional ingredients. Consider a sprinkle of cinnamon or a pinch of nutmeg to introduce a warming spice note. With all our ingredients ready, it's time to get our hands dirty. The first step in making donuts is preparing the dough. Now don't fret. Making dough might sound daunting, but it's quite simple. It's all about combining the ingredients in the right order and giving them a good mix. You'll need flour, sugar, salt, warm milk, melted butter, yeast, and eggs. Start by whisking the yeast into the warm milk. This will help it activate and give our dough its rise. While that's sitting, mix your dry ingredients together in a large bowl. The flour, sugar, and salt. Make a well in the center and pour in the yeast milk mixture, followed by the melted butter and eggs. Now comes the fun part. Mixing. Use a spoon or your hands to combine everything together until a shaggy dough forms. This is where the magic of baking really starts to happen. You'll see the ingredients transform right before your eyes, from a loose, powdery mix into a sticky, cohesive dough. But we're not done yet. It's time to knead. Kneading is a crucial step in the dough-making process. It helps to develop the gluten in the flour, which gives our donuts that irresistible chew. Roll up your sleeves and get your hands in there. Push, pull, and fold the dough for about 10 to 15 minutes until it becomes smooth and elastic. Once your dough is beautifully kneaded, place it in a greased bowl, cover it with a clean cloth, and let it rise. This is the time when your dough needs to rest and grow. It will need about an hour, maybe two, depending on the warmth of your kitchen. Be patient though, this is an essential step. You want your dough to double in size. It's this rise that gives our donuts their light, airy texture. Once the dough is risen, we're ready to shape our donuts. But that's a story for the next scene. For now, take a moment to admire your dough. You've mixed, you've kneaded, and you've patiently waited. You're well on your way to crafting some truly mouth-watering donuts. Now comes the fun part, shaping and frying the donuts. First, we need to get our dough into that classic donut shape. It's easier than you might think. Dust your work surface liberally with flour to prevent the dough from sticking. Then, roll out the dough until it's about half an inch thick. Too thin, and your donuts won't have that satisfying fluffiness. Too thick, and they might not cook properly in the middle. Now let's cut out our donuts. You can use a donut cutter if you have one, but don't worry if you don't. Two different sized round biscuit cutters will work just as well. Use the larger cutter to stamp out the outer edge of your donuts. Then use the smaller cutter to create the iconic hole in the middle. Keep going until you've used up all your dough. Don't forget, you can re-roll the scraps to make more donuts. Next, let's move on to frying our donuts. You'll need a deep pan filled with oil heated to around 375 degrees Fahrenheit. The exact temperature can vary depending on your recipe, but it's important that the oil is hot enough to cook the donuts thoroughly without burning them. If you have a cooking thermometer, now's the time to use it. Gently slide your donuts into the hot oil, one at a time. Be careful not to overcrowd the pan, or the temperature of the oil might drop. Fry the donuts until they're golden brown on one side, then flip them over to cook the other side. This usually takes about 2 minutes on each side, but keep a close eye on them. They can go from perfectly golden to burnt in a matter of seconds. Once your donuts are cooked to perfection, use a slotted spoon to lift them out of the oil. Let them drain on a wire rack over a baking sheet to get rid of any excess oil. Our donuts are fried and ready, but they're not donuts without the classic sweet finish. The final step in making donuts is arguably the most satisfying: glazing and decorating. This is where the magic happens, where we transform our fried dough into a treat that's as pleasing to the eye as it is to the palate. Let's start with a simple sugar glaze. It's as straightforward as it sounds. You'll need 2 ingredients: powdered sugar and milk. In a bowl, combine 1 cup of powdered sugar with 2 tablespoons of milk. Stir until smooth. You're looking for a consistency that's thick enough to stick to the donut, but thin enough to easily dip into. If it's too thick, add a bit more milk. Too thin? Just add some more powdered sugar. Once your glaze is ready, it's time for the fun part. Take your warm, freshly fried donuts and dip each one into the glaze. You'll want to do this while the donuts are still warm because the heat helps the glaze set into that classic shiny finish we all love. Of course, sugar glaze is just the beginning. There are countless ways to decorate your donuts. How about dusting them with powdered sugar, or drizzling a rich chocolate glaze over the top? And let's not forget about the endless possibilities that sprinkles can bring. From classic rainbow sprinkles to fancy gold stars, the options are as limitless as your imagination. But remember, decorating your donuts isn't just about making them look pretty, it's also about adding another layer of flavor. That chocolate glaze, it adds a touch of bitterness that perfectly balances the sweetness of the dough. Those sprinkles, they provide a delightful crunch that contrasts beautifully with the softness of the donut. And there you have it, a step-by-step guide to making your own delicious donuts. From mixing and kneading the dough, to shaping and frying, and finally to glazing and decorating, you've mastered the art of donut making. Now who's ready for a donut party?